Everyone, it's Lindsay Moellenberndt, and on today's episode of the Daily BizLink, I have Jane Cebrynski back here to share a little bit more information on the concept of joy. Jane, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's always a pleasure. All right, we begin every workout with, give me a 10 moment.
A 10 moment. Gosh, we actually were really focused this week on our staff appreciation. So a big 10 moment was just the fact that we were able to send out some really thoughtful cards this week for our team members, and then also to get everybody on a Zoom call this week, which I think made everybody feel really awesome. So that was my 10 moment of the week.
Beautiful victory dance, right? We've got to continue to look for those 10 moments. And I know that sometimes it's really hard right now. And I know one of the things, we're going to talk about joy, because I think one of the things that I've been feeling and hearing a lot from my clients right now is, I'm over this. Like, I'm over it. And it, excuse me, it makes me think about how we feel towards the end of summer. It's like, we're over it. So that seems to be kind of the recurring theme. I mean, people are relatively over the, they've gone through the shock of it all, and we're settling into some rituals and routines. And now there's a heightened level of frustration that tends to show up, because people are just like, I'm so done with this. And then, with the unknown looming end date, it just creates a little bit more anxiety and fear. And so I've been really, really focused on joy over the last 4 or 5 days, because I'm like everybody else. I have my highs and lows, and I've had some tough days. And so I really started thinking about, we coach a lot in creating joy and having joy breaks throughout the day. We talk a lot about that. And we know in sports, there's a lot to be said about celebrations. And so I just kind of wanted to spend a few minutes talking about that, because we really do have the ability to rewire our brains, if you will, and shift the chemicals in our body to bring us a little bit more happiness and joy. And we talked last week about dose. The chemicals that we produce in our body, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and then those endorphins that we get from exercise, they all have the ability to generate more happiness. And when our opponent right now might be cortisol, that drug that gets produced when there's anxiety or stress and can really affect our immune system, we need to find ways to sort of boost those other hormones in our body. And so, people are going to think I'm weird, but I actually made a list of things that bring me joy. And I have a gratitude sheet that I started over a month and a half ago, because we know that just the simple act of gratitude can shift our mood. And so, every day I just put something on the board that shows up in the form of gratitude for me. And what I've loved about it is that the list has grown. And so I kind of have this visual that I walk by every day in my kitchen several times a day. And I just kind of look at that list, and it also kind of brings back some memories of like, oh yeah, I remember when I took that walk, or when I remember when, I got to Zoom with my family, and that was really fun. So it acts sort of as a little historical calendar for me, which also shows me how far we've come. And, sorry, I got a tickle in my throat here this morning. But in terms of thinking about joy, I was reading this book called Joyful, and it just really resonated with me because it talks about color. And I'm looking at your painting behind you, and sometimes color really produces joy for some people. And I'm a big color person, and I love that. But also it talks about, play. And also, there's a lot to be said about joy in a time of renewal. And that just made me think of where we are right now and how we can try to find the joy in these hard times. And so oftentimes what I do with my clients is get them to think about, when they were a child, or what are the things that you sort of lose track of time in, that you just go, oh, wow, like, I lost all track of time. Those are generally the things that bring us joy. And so I really am encouraging people to take some time, think about the little things that can bring us joy. And in this world right now where there's so much negativity, there is so much joy around us if you look for it. And it's different for everybody. So I don't want to sit there and say that what brings me joy is going to bring somebody else joy, but it's really finding those little things. Like I was looking at some pictures from a trip I took to Italy a couple of years ago. And I was looking at this one picture I took of these two little boys on the side of the street. And, I've raised 3 boys. And so that picture just brings me so joy. And, I can't tell people how to find it. You have to sort of search for yourself, but I want to encourage everyone to do that. And the more that we can find the joy, we can shift, the wiring in our brain. We can boost our immune system. We can improve our creativity and our focus, and we can be, healthier. And right now, the focus really is on our well-being and how we're going to get through this crisis in the healthiest way. So again, it's not to minimize the grief and the difficult times around us and the hardships that people are experiencing, but really just to find joy in the little things. And I just really want to encourage people to do that.
Awesome. Thanks, Jane. So for those individuals looking for a new challenge for the week, we encourage you to think through what you're joyful for and what you have gratitude for. A great idea would be to do something similar to what Jane did by, putting it up on a whiteboard or on a sticky note. But anyways, wishing everyone great health, and hopefully all of you are staying well during this time. And Jane, thanks again for being here with us today.
Thanks, Lindsay. Being with you always brings me a lot of joy.